Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners, and Latin America also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France, of course. You good old boys in Canada, we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful April the 3rd, 2020. Ground of the days. Big C is still out digging for gold. I'm sure he's found a whole pot of gold. It might be a whole landfill full of gold. Maybe he found the land over in Wakanda. I know he'll be back in the saddle soon. It's all fair in love and war. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Also, Big C Sports is powered by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear Welcome to the Show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic from 3,000 miles away, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really appreciate that. But you got to have a smart TV or you'll just see a still picture. There is a difference between people, and there's a difference between TVs. It's all fair in love and war. I do want to say we want to make sure on this beautiful, what should be known as a happy Friday. I know when we pay attention to what's going on with coronavirus, we all got to pause. We all got to pause and realize that we're in a big fight. But I know with faith and science, we shall win. We have a lot of military veterans that we pay homage to on our program. They can get help, especially in a time of crisis, but so many people can use that same help. They are experienced in helping veterans and their loved ones to get help. Veterans Crisis Line, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can get some help. And a lot of people, especially in today's time, we know that everybody needs to talk out, reach out to somebody. We all need somebody to lean on, and there's just so much going on in this great country. I'm not obtuse at all. I love sports. It's really my panacea in a sense for a lot of things in life, and I love using that as it's kind of my citadel, if that makes any sense to you. Also want to make sure that I acknowledge we are launching a real estate listing channel. I know we're on the pause right now with the governor, Gavin Newsom, having everybody really on lockdown, and you can't even do open houses in California right now until this is lifted. You can't do appraisals. You can still collect loan documentation and listing information, but you can't put your house on the market and have people walking through it. So that's a public issue that we're all dealing with. But life does go on, and this too shall pass, hoping and praying that science has a solution. But the goal is still recruit 100 real estate brokers to list their properties on TV. We can also do your loans. It's a great time to refinance, even though it's going to take a little bit longer until the governor makes it possible to even have appraisers go out and look at properties right now. It's just a matter of paying attention to what's going on in our civic communities. That's important too. But the reason that TV is so important, McDonald's does it, restaurants, grocery stores, they're always on television. Your car dealerships are on TV. Your gym memberships, oftentimes the company that you go to for your gym to get your workout on, they're on TV too. And real estate can do it too. There have been real estate shows all over the country. And no matter what's going on with coronavirus right now, people still need a place to live. They're either moving, they're buying, they're selling, they're refinancing, whatever it is. If you can lower your rate and save a few $100s on your monthly mortgage payment, for example, if you did a refinance and you save just $400 on that monthly payment times 12, that's $4,800 a year. That's a lot of money you can put in your pocket, but you don't know that unless you try the refinancing. So we're going to be mentioning that as soon as we get the okay from Governor Gavin Newsom, but it is coming also looking at doing a real estate podcast that's not affected by as much as what TV is. So that's a lot of things that we're looking at. In the world of sports, man, let's talk about golf. You know, right now, we would be getting ready for the Masters coming up on the 9th of April, but that's on pause, been postponed at this time. There's still a lot of things going on in the world of sports, where there's Harper and Matt's the latest MLBers to contribute to the virus relief. There's a lot of athletes that are doing their part to contribute to relief with coronavirus, and I really appreciate that, because not everybody has to, and everybody knows that I want to do my part every day, and I thank God that I have this platform. I want to make sure that I use it to just talk about what's going on to keep people safe. Everybody has their own choice. But Harper and his wife, Kayla, they are giving $500,000 in direct relief, and Three Square in the hometown of Las Vegas, and in Philadelphia. It's all fair in love and war. The Matz family has given his foundation to donate $32,000 to New York City first responders. We know they've all been hit hard, especially in New York City, where it seems to be a lot of people are just dealing with the virus outbreak. But I want to do my part in talking about it. I've also contributed some money on my part. Also, I want to make sure my PSAs are very important. I do apologize. I'm not going to play video games like I see some of our programs do video games, but everybody has their own way of doing things. Everybody has to do their very best to make sure that we all are in this together. I know we all talk about how to make things better for our families, people that we care about. Sometimes you can care about people and they don't check on you, maybe because they have their own thing going on. So be the first one to make the call. I've always tried doing that. Now, if they don't call back, maybe that's a message that I got to learn also. But I still do my part whenever I can, even if it's only subconsciously. If you look at the NBA, and a lot of NBA players, they're being forced to do workouts just based on what they have at their homes. You can't go to the gym unless you're J-Lo and A-Rod sneaking into a gym that's closed to get their workout on. It's all fair in love and war. I know when you have money, sometimes you think that you're above science too. And, that's just, they're grown people. They know what's right from wrong. The Sharks GM, they have the upper hand to take over as coach. It's a Bautner here in the Bay Area, so we'll see what happens with that. A lot of hockey players in the minors, they face uncertainty. There's a lot of job fears. Even when you think about what's going on in the world of the coronavirus $6 trillion stimulus package, the first $2 trillion being rolled out, there's a lot going on that people haven't had the chance to get the money yet. It's supposed to be happening very soon, and I know that we're all hoping that the mortgage payments, for the most part, they were all due, as well as rent, between the 1st and the 3rd of this month. And I know the government says that they work with several banks. If you don't have the chance to make your mortgage payment, you still want to call them and see if they're a part of the stimulus program. I believe they are in the system, and I'm not going to say the banks. I've already said it before, but I don't want to give out information that I can't verify. But I do know that people can go and they can look and see if they're part of that too. If not, call your service provider and see if you got to make that payment or not. If you can make it, of course, make it. But if you can't, you don't want to put your head in the sand. You want to be on record, making sure that you get something in writing saying if you have to or if you don't have to make that payment. I've heard good and bad stories from different people, even restaurants that haven't gotten the stimulus money yet. But I know there's light at the end of the tunnel. Talking about coronavirus and the pandemic, there's a celebrity charity golf tournament event. It's Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning. I believe it still has a green light for that. But thinking about that, talked about by Big C Sports, organized by AT&T and Warner Media, also a deal with Comcast and Viacom CBS TV it's amazing. It's going to keep golf on CBS and NBC Sports, but it's going to bring a $700 million annually contract to those networks. And if you think about a contract that was signed, it's going to go through 2022 to 2030. It's a $5.6 billion deal in the world of people being laid off now. But that's just the way life is. You're not going to have everybody affected by the same thing at the same time. But I was first against what's really just my opinion. I was against having what was a charity golf event because, in my understanding, when Tiger and Phil did this event about 2018, I believe it was a $9 million purse, and Phil Mickelson walked away with $9 million. I think that may have been the case, but I'm thinking this time it's supposed to be for charity. So if it's for charity, I'm all good with it. These guys have a lot of money. Who's to say they don't need more? Everybody has a right to earn money. If it's for charity, then I'm all for that because it's a little bit insensitive when we've had 1,000 people die in one single day, over 1,000 in the United States alone of a coronavirus. And I don't want to seem like life has to stop because we all have to deal with life every single day, no matter where you are on this planet. But if they're doing it for a cause that's going to enrich other people, that's easier on my palate than it is, hey, I'm going to go out and grab another $9 or $10 million from my own pocket, even though I got, multiple millions in the bank. So to me, it makes sense. Just some thought about it. Tiger Woods, going way back to when he was at Stanford, he's always been able to move the needle on anything. And I would love to see if he's out there. He's been somewhat reticent to speak about issues that affect other people. He's Stanford educated, so he knows what he's talking about. But Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, they're planning to square off in a 2-on-2 golf event to help in coronavirus relief effort. To me, that makes sense. To me, I want to take the time to applaud those two golfers for that, not just putting $9 million in their own bank account. Now, if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady just signed with the Buccaneers. So he was kicked out of New England, and he had to go from being a Patriot to a Pirate for the rest of his days. Bob Kraft loves you. Could you imagine? I love your son, but you got to go be a Pirate for the rest of your days. It's all fair, love, and war. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm sure he'll do the best that he can down there. But imagine, in a golf tournament, any golfer knows you got a lot of torque in your lower back. Now, he's already an older man. I know he's an avid golfer anyway. But what if you go out there and you hurt your back the way Tiger Woods has been hurting his back as a golfer, and then you're not ready for the start of NFL kickoff? If we have it, I'm gonna hope and pray that we have it. But it's really up to science and how they deal with this coronavirus pandemic. But could you imagine if Tom Brady goes out and pulls a muscle in his back and he's not ready for the start of the season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Peyton Manning, he's not playing football anymore, but the last time he played, he was also injured too, and he played in the Super Bowl against the Carolina Panthers, but he'd had an injured foot, and they put a cast on his neck for some reason, Big C. But it's okay for those guys. But I wonder if Tom Brady doesn't have second thoughts that a franchise got rid of a quarterback who threw for over 5,000 yards to bring you in, and if you're out playing golf and hurt yourself, then I know that might not sit well with Bruce Arians and them good old boys down in town. You don't want to make Pirates mad, Tom Brady. So the NFL icons, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, they're supposed to join this superstar golf event in a match organized by AT&T, Warner Brothers Media, Warner Media, and the PGA Tour, and also it's in negotiations confirmed by CNBC. Now, the match is pitting Mickelson and Brady against Woods and Manning. It would be a rare sporting event in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, but if it's for charity, it's easier to swallow. That's just my opinion. They could be obtuse. A lot of athletes are considered obtuse anyway. Like, who cares? What is coronavirus? What about my money? But I don't think these men are that way. And it's nice when they put out there that they're going to give money to charity. I'm sure they'll make some money too, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you think about that, there's been so many cancellations in sports all across this globe, and to have this done for charity, to me, I'm very proud if they can pull it off, and that's just my opinion. So everybody knows that it's just about what do we do to make life better. I think if you have professional athletes that I believe connect the world, when religion has a hard time doing it, sometimes politics definitely has a hard time doing it, but there's something about sports that brings us together, especially when you have Tiger Woods, who's been beaten up by media so much for doing the same thing a lot of good old boys have been doing for many, many moons. So that's, to me, just my opinion. Officiating, I guess they're going to talk about having some future stars also throughout the PGA an NFL tournament. The National Basketball Association, that would include Hall of Famer Charles Barkley, who's currently serving as an NBA analyst on TNT. Now, we don't have basketball right now, so having Charles Barkley there, he's been around the block. He's also a pretty good lover of golf. Maybe he doesn't have the best swing, but he's out there trying like anybody else. I think Barkley also assisted in the 2018 Turner Sports broadcast events that had Woods and Mickelson square off in head-to-head. So they parlayed that. They played for that $9 million winner-take-all, and I believe that was done in Las Vegas back in 2018. So this event, I believe they want to move it to Florida. I know if they're still, I think Florida has put out on Friday, which is today, goes into effect this night. I believe they're having a lockdown for all non-essential activity. So would a charity golf event be an essential or non-essential activity? I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't know if they make a different kind of ruling on that because it's for charity. But if that's going to be the case, I wonder if that would be in effect also. And as I mentioned earlier, which is so important, how sports is a billion-dollar industry, it would come on the heels of a 9-year deal with Viacom, CBS, and Comcast, NBC, Universal, that will keep weekend coverage of most tournaments on CBS and NBC Sports. The deal is valued, I believe the package is supposed to be right around $700 million per year. That's a 70% increase over the PGA's prior rights and agreements, and the new deal again begins in 2022 up to 2030. Wanted to mention that to you here on Big C Sports. I know I had spoken earlier in the week about how I disagree with these guys going out and playing another winner-take-all tournament when sports is being shut down. The Masters is on the Big C pause. I didn't think it would be very sensitive for those guys to come out and do that. But if they do it, then hopefully they're going to give that money to other people that are dealing with this. That's our first responders. We have obviously people who are dealing with this on the front lines. They know they need the help. If they can create the chance to get masks and also other medical equipment, that would be, to me, just a great thing to do. I want to take a look at just a thought about why it's important that if we have any of our iconic athletes that can go out and do charity and move the needle, to me is more in moving the needle important, just my opinion, if Tiger's doing a golf tournament than watching these replays of erstwhile athletes playing their sports. And that's okay too. Everybody has a right to whatever they want to do for entertainment, but I would love to see the thoughts of someone like Tiger. And the thinking I think about is Tiger Woods. I want to get Big C's thoughts on Tiger Woods and his achievements. Now, right now, I believe he's 44 years old. The question is, can Tiger Woods win 18 majors before he turns 46 years old? That, to me, that's a seminal moment in sports, because the great Jack Nicklaus, when he won his last major, he was 46 years old. It was his 18th and final major. It was actually at the Masters. And I know there are times when people thought that Tiger Woods was kind of washed up because of the back problems and the surgeries that he'd had. And then a lot of the media, they made a big stink about what he does in his private life. And I grew up around athletes and entertainers and the clergy, and all of them do the same thing that Tiger Woods was doing. From JFK to so many other people, from athletes that we hear about, men and women. But they made Tiger Woods kind of the eye of the tiger in a sense, and I didn't think that was fair. So when you look at any of the professional athletes in any rank, you can find a number of them that have wives and girlfriends, and a lot of these girlfriends that become wives, a lot of them are hanging out just to see if they can mate some of these guys. And that's the truth. It's not insulting. It's not insensitive. I know many women who would look up some athletes because they're multi-millionaires. And I've heard girls say, "Girl, I know you're going to get on that. You think I ain't?" I've heard that conversation. It was the same attitude. Think I ain't? I heard those conversations when I started working in sports. And I saw it when I was a little boy. So whatever people do what they want to do. There's a book called Melbourne. It was written by Lord David Cecil. It was about how people, the Whig Society, Melbourne, they did whatever they wanted to do. They worked hard, and they lived the life of Riley. They did what they wanted to do, and I know everybody has the desire to do whatever they want, but sometimes they're too ashamed to speak about it in public. So just a thought, Big C's thoughts on the career of Tiger Woods, why it's important that he among a lot of other athletes, can do a lot to bring people together the way sports can. Think about some things about Tiger Woods, and you may already know this, but we're doing it Big C style today. Tiger Woods has won 82 official PGA Tour events. He's tied with the great Sam Snead. Also, think about this. He's 9 ahead of Jack Nicklaus, who has 73 all-time PGA wins. That's so amazing. And last I checked, Jack retired. He may come out of retirement if Tiger gets up to the 18th major. Could you see the great Jack coming out of retirement, trying to get the number 19 once Tiger ties him? And I know that's going to happen probably within the next 2 years. Tiger Woods has won 15 majors, second all-time behind the great Jack Nicklaus, who has 18 majors. And you can cheer for that because a lot of people love how these two iconic golfers, one is retired, still doing his thing in the broadcast booth or as a guest, and the other, in the great Tiger, he was supposed to be teeing off at the Masters in Augusta, Georgia, just coming up next week. But we're not going to get that because science had a different mind of its own unleashing this coronavirus pandemic. But hopefully we'll get past this too. Just the same way you're trying to get up to another major, well, we got to get through this pandemic before we get there. Also, the great Tiger Woods, would you believe he's 14-1 going into the final round of a major with at least a share of the lead? Tiger Woods also has a scoring average in the 2000s, the lowest in PGA Tour history. Think about it. He averaged shooting about a 67 going into in the 2000s. That's an average over 10 years. That's almost impossible to do, but he's done it. That's why he has the lowest in the history of golf. He has the lowest scoring career average in PGA Tour history. Now, I'm not a sycophant to Tiger Woods. I'm just going over the fact that the man, when it comes to things you can measure that are actually tangible, no one has done more than him. So when you have Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, and you have Tom Brady, and you have Peyton Manning, you know, they're going to play in this tournament. I hope it goes on. I don't know if it'll be suspended by the Florida governor, because when this was announced, it was announced before Florida put this ban on people being out in non-essential groups of more than 10 people, I believe. And you know they have a cruise ship that's just supposedly docking in Florida, somewhere in Florida today, that has people who've tested positive for coronavirus. So if it keeps spreading the way it's done, and we're over 1,000 fatalities in one day in the United States, to me that's very painful. If this keeps ramping up, are they really going to go out and play a tournament? I don't know. It's just something we got to pay attention to. So also, when you think about what Woods has done, he's amassed the most career earnings of any player in PGA Tour history. That's a lot of money. And even with that, they almost tried to bring him down because he tried to live like JFK or Bill Clinton or many other athletes that people hear about, whether it's presidents or, I mean, we know what POTUS has been involved in. At least you can Google how many times he's been married. So everybody knows, and if you read some of the people who were married to him and what they've said about him, that was a lot more egregious than what Tiger Woods was doing. That's just my opinion, but you can Google that. Woods is one of 5 players, along with Gene Sarazen, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, and Jack Nicklaus, to have won all 4 professional major championships in his career as the Grand Slam, and also he was the youngest to do so. So not only are you up there with the golfing royalty to be the youngest to do it, but also the only golfer in the history of the universe that's ever been brought down by mainstream media, primarily for having miscegenation with white women. But they were the one going after him. And as an athlete, everybody knows what I'm saying. If he were a Caucasian golfer, I'm sure they wouldn't have bothered him. You know how I know that? Because there's a lot of people that are running in the same neighborhoods, doing the same things, and they have not been. Why don't you know about them? Really, why don't you know about them? They're in the same neighborhoods, they're doing the same profession, they're around the same people, but you don't hear about them. Why not? What was it about mainstream that wanted to bring down one person out of so many great golfers, and they're all running around in the Kentucky Derby, if that makes any sense to you, Big C, if you understand what I'm saying? Most horses tend to run on the same track, if that makes any sense, no pun intended. But anyway, that's my opinion. And Woods is the only player to have won all 4 professional major championships in a row, accomplishing that feat in the 2000-2001 season. And that feat became known as the Tiger Slam. Or you can call it whatever you want. It was just a moment in history where he dominated history in the world of, he kept writing history in the world of golf, and he's still doing it. That's why in the world of athletes and entertainers coming out talking about what they're doing in this coronavirus pandemic, when they're giving out relief, I mean, so many people have pledged their time. They pledged their money. As I said, to a lot of sponsors who've given guys $100 million, $200 million, $300 million, $400 million contracts. You don't hear them talking anything. They may write a check, but Big C Sports is on every day, Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock p.m., all over the universe. Not only talking sports, giving homage to God, and also science, but we're also asking people pay attention to what's going on with this pandemic so we can all find a cure for it. At least that's my hope. Tiger Woods set the all-time PGA Tour record for most consecutive cuts made with 142. This streak was started back in 1998. He set the record at the 2003 Tour Championships with 114, passing Byron Nelson's previous record of 113, and the great Jack Nicklaus at 105, and extended his mark to 142 before it ended May 13th, 2005. That's why I would love to see the greatest golfer in the history of the universe, the great Tiger Woods, being out in the front of this pandemic. So as history will judge everybody by what did we do when the floods came, and the winds blew, and it blew on the house, and people became ill. Some of the most prominent people in society, they're just silent. You don't hear about them. They just want to know, hey, when can I play the game, man? So that's why I would love, at least for our sports brethren, and a lot of them have stepped up. There's so many sports. Bob Kraft, he loaned his jet, his jumbo jet, to help bring masks from China to the United States of America. There's a lot of people who are doing great work, but if you're quiet about it, nobody knows. And I believe I've heard this when I was growing up, actually. You got to show up. You either lead, you either follow, or you get out of the way. And when these great business tycoons and icons in the sports world, because they can get people that won't listen to each other when it comes to politics. Somebody has to be right, somebody has to be wrong. They don't want to quit pro quo when it comes to politics. A lot of them want a zero-sum game. It's just me, myself, and I. And also in the clergy. The Europeans have made everyone believe that Christ was a man who was Caucasian. He wasn't. Christ was a man of color. You can Google that in the Bible also. Revelation chapter 1, verses 14 and 15. The book of Daniel chapter 7, verse 9 and 10 and 6. And also in Colossians, Christ had that skin the color of brass and hair like lamb's wool. But they made him European, in America at least. And that's not right. But they've done it anyway. But you can Google it. All I say, you pastors, Google in the Bible where he's pale skin and blonde hair and show that to your whole congregation. It doesn't exist. But if no one corrects you, then we all believe in a lie. That's why I want athletes to stand up, because they can pull people from the clergy that may not agree on things, and they can pull people from politics that may not agree on things, but they all want to watch the game. They want to watch the game. And that's why it's important to me to use sports almost like a religion, because it really does unite people together, and I love it. Jesus said, if you love me, feed my sheep, and I'm just doing my part. Think about this. Byron Nelson Championship, many consider this to be one of the most remarkable golf accomplishments of all times, given the margins by which he broke the old record, and given that during that streak, the next longest streak by any other player was usually the 10s or the 20s. When Byron Nelson, by far, think about it, he played far fewer players who made the cut, and Tiger Woods has blown all the way. I mean, he would win tournaments by double digits. Woods has won a record 22.8%, which is 82 out of 359 of his professional starts on the PGA Tour. You win 82%. There's some NBA players that can't shoot 82% from the free throw line, and they're just competing against themselves in the rim. Tiger Woods did this on the golf course. This is why I want to see more. To me, when our athletes speak out, it makes the whole world pay attention. In fact, the whole universe pays attention. And I want to see him speak out more. And I know you're going to hear more about Tiger Woods coming up on when the Masters would have started. Woods is the only golfer to have won the U.S. Amateur 3 consecutive times, 1994 to 1996. I think that's incredible. That's why I would love to see him get out there at the forefront of the pandemic. Big C Sports is doing it first, and I guarantee it. You can Google it. Coming around next week, when the Masters would have started, you're going to see more and more about Tiger Woods and whatever contribution he's making. And I would love to see our athletes do it because people pay attention. We're going to take what's called the Big C Timeout, also known as the Big C Pause. When we come back, we're going to talk more about some of the best athletes in the universe. And you can too. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back from the Big C Timeout, also known as the Big C Pause. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Spreaker.com, and the apps that I love are by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. And he's doing this thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really appreciate that. Also launching a real estate listing show in the spring of 2020. We're waiting on Gavin Newsom to lift the ban on open houses. I know in California you can't do open houses right now. And I believe it's through April, but it's all based on medical science, what medical science says. But if you can watch McDonald's run commercials on TV, you can watch car dealerships, they put commercials on TV, and also sport companies, sporting events, really missing the Masters not being played next week. But that's on TV too. You can do the same thing with your real estate. We can also refinance your home. Right now is a great time to refinance. Rates are as low as they've been. They may even dip a little bit lower if that's even possible. But that's a way you can take money out of your home. And as some of my friends, they put it under the mattress, or you might want to use it to pay down debts or whatever you got to do. You know, whatever you need to do. It's your equity, and you may as well use it. So looking forward to that happening as soon as we get to go from the great Gavin Newsom. Also considering doing a real estate podcast show that's not affected by having an open house the way real estate is. I want to get back to what I was saying earlier about having athletes do what the clergy hasn't been able to do. A lot of people of different colors, they don't get together in the church. It's like they may have 2 or 3 people that don't look like them, and the rest are just one eugenic group. I believe that Christ, that might be very insulting if you came back and looked at some of our churches that are so segregated, you think we're still back in the 1940s. But everybody has their own opinion. At the same time, we'll try different wines, but we won't try different flavor of people. That's my own opinion. Tiger Woods has been the PGA Player of the Year a record 11 times. Tiger Woods has been the PGA Tour Player of the Year a record 11 times. That's amazing when you think about how many athletes are competing to win, and they're just trying to put that ball in that little bitty hole. It's easy to see on TV. They make it look easy, but once you get out there on your own, a little bit more challenging. He has been, the great Tiger Woods has been the PGA Tour money leader a record 10 times. It's just so amazing. Woods has been the Vardon Trophy winner a record 9 times, and Woods has been the recipient of the Byron Nelson Award a record 9 times. Why am I bringing that up? I just think that athletes can pull us together. I know going into the Masters, next week, we're not going to have our great athletes. We're not going to have the great golfers that make the game look easy out there on the green, going up to the 18th green or the 18th hole at Augusta, Georgia. We're not going to see that this year, or maybe we'll see it, but it'll be later in the year. I'm just hoping that we get the chance to see it, because to me, a lot of the golf world, it was made more integrated because of what Tiger Woods did. And I know maybe that matters to some. I know it matters to TV because his records, when he's on, then the ratings are through the roof. But anything that can bring people together, that to me is important. I'm just going to mention a couple more things about Tiger, because I would love to see him speak up more about coronavirus, the pandemic, and the relief effort that a lot of athletes are doing. And I know you'll probably hear more about what he's doing. They were trying to do this golf tournament, this coronavirus charity golf tournament. I hope it still happens, but it's going to be in Florida. It was announced before the governor put a stay-at-home order that goes in place tonight, April 3rd, in Florida, and that's where they were going to do the tournament. So science, if you're smart, it should always win out. That's my hope anyway, and I hope that it does too. Tiger Woods, He owns a 55-4 record when holding at least a share of the lead after 54 holes. That's amazing. 55-4 when holding at least a share of the lead after 54 holes. 44-2 record when holding the lead outright. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's just amazing. Woods has only lost once when leading by more than one shot after 54 holes. Everybody has their own opinion about who's the greatest at whatever they're doing and at whatever they've done. But I'm also going to say this for sponsors, because Big C Sports is bringing you the Masters before the Masters. Tiger Woods has won 14 tournaments wire to wire, including 7 times while holding the lead outright. Think about this. That's so important. And you sponsors, I want you to sponsor Big C Sports. Think about what the great Tiger Woods has done. You can't say you didn't hear it today, because to me, I want to see our great athletes come out here and be on the forefront of what was once called a hoax. It's not a hoax. And a lot of people will listen to sports figures when they may not listen to science. I mean, that's my opinion. But sponsors, listen to this. Big C Sports, in honoring the great achievements of some of our great athletes in the history of the universe. The great Tiger Woods, and he's still, the hourglass is still at work. The hourglass is still draining sand. Hopefully he'll stay out of the sand traps when he gets back to the tournament next year. But he knows what I mean. Sometimes he lands the ball in the sand. But at the same time, Tiger Woods has won 14 tournaments wire to wire, including 7 times while holding the lead outright after each round in the 2000 U.S. Open, the 2000 PGA Championship tied with after first and fourth rounds, the 2000 WGC NEC Invitational, the 2002 Bay Hill Invitational, tied after the first round, the 2002 U.S. Open, 2002 WGC American Express Championship. Think about that, American Express, sponsor Big C Sports. You can do it. You know why? Because we ask you to. Sponsor Big C Sports, as we're talking about right now, the American Express Championships. The great Tiger Woods did that too. The 2003 Western Open, the 2005 Open Championships, the 2005 WGC NEC Invitational, tied for first and second and third rounds. The 2004 Ford Championships at Doral. You can do that, Ford, the Big C Sports Show. We don't mind. Everybody loves cars. I mean, everybody does, unless you like trains, planes, trains, and automobiles. But we all know the name Ford is synonymous with American craftsmanship. In 2006, the WGC American Express Championships. There it is again. Sponsors of Big C Sports, American Express. Don't leave home without it. And don't leave home without following Big C Sports Podcast. The WGC Cadillac Championship, my favorite sponsorship of all the golf tournaments. The WGC Cadillac is amazing. They've done it. Other dealerships are doing it. Really appreciate that. And the fact that we all have access to the game that a lot of people love. I never really grew up as a big avid golfer, but I do putt a lot. I love going to the putting greens because I'm usually better with the putting greens than I am trying to drive the ball down the fairway. But it's all fair in love and war. Maybe I'll get into it as I have more time on my hands. But I love the fact that you can sponsor Big C Sports the same way you sponsor the WGC Cadillac Championships. Really appreciate Cadillac for that. Tied after first round, the 2018 Tour Championship. Tied after the first and second rounds, the 2019 Zozo Championships tied after the first round. So Woods has successfully defended a title 24 times on the PGA Tour. There's so much I can say about that, and I really hope that we can have the coronavirus celebrity golf tournament with Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady. I don't know if it's smart for Brady to do it because they need him to throw footballs for the Pirates. Actually, the pirate on the helmet, but they call themselves the Buccaneers. Why not call themselves the Tampa Bay Pirates? They have a pirate on the side of the helmet. To me, it doesn't make any sense, but it's all fair in love and war. So I really wish that some of our great sports athletes will come out here and show their faces more. I know a lot of people have been doing it, especially as we're getting more and more news about the pandemic and how it's hurting so many people. I just hope and pray that we can get past this soon because we all need it. We all need something to just lean on and think about. To me, I love it. I love the game of sports. I love it so much that it just makes me think about how we can all come together. We've tried it in the church. Sometimes it doesn't happen. We've tried it with politics, and we see how tough that is to do. But we can keep trying, and maybe golf can help us do that also. I want to talk a little bit about field hockey and the Hospital Award. And think about it, in Perth, Australia, where they also follow Big C Sports, the coronavirus pandemic, it ended any chance of Rachel Lynch competing for the Olympic gold in Tokyo this year. Now she's switching into the medical role to help take on the coronavirus. And she's a goalkeeper for Australia's women field hockey team and also is a registered nurse. So everybody knows what's going on now, except for a couple of people that may still have their heads in the sand. So after the Olympics were postponed in July, they're going to go into July of 2021. She applied to work as a registered nurse at 2 COVID-19 clinics in Western Australia. So I know that athletes are doing their part, maybe not as notable as the great Tiger Woods, but there are a lot that are still doing their thing. And I know that, just like what I do on the Big C Sports Show, I was talking about sports and politics with Big C for about 5 years now. Before it was nouveau riche, before it was a new thing to do. Now everybody's doing it. So God showed us the universe will follow. If we were not on the right path, only history can tell you that. Because more shows, at least the smart guys, the guys who read more than just who won a game, they're also talking about some politics. They're talking about what's going on in the White House. They're talking about what's going on with medical science. But it took a pandemic for them to do it. Big C and I were doing it because we're prescient enough. And I got to pat myself on the back for that because I'm talking to sponsors. So when you want to sponsor a show, do you want to sponsor somebody who's first to get that story? Like Walter Cronkite, just the facts? Or do you want to sponsor somebody who's second? You know, the copycatters. You can listen to a lot of sports talk shows today now. And there's a lot of them that said, even a couple of years ago, especially when it came to Colin Kaepernick, trying to ask for liberty and justice for everybody. I can't believe he's talking about that. I can't believe he wants to say that Black Lives Matter or that women's lives matter. I can't believe he's doing that. Just tell me who won the game. A lot of those dumb guys, they've either off the air or they capitulated. And they're acting like they have a heart and they actually care about what happens to their kids and their families. And if you don't think that Black Lives Matter affects your families, it does. It affects everybody. People are not as segregated now as they used to be back in the day. And a lot of my white brethren that do radio and TV shows, they may work with a lot of African Americans now. So when you say that Black lives doesn't matter or that women's rights don't matter, I don't want to hear that garbage, just tell me who won the game, you're telling those same co-hosts that you don't care about their kids or their mothers or brothers or sisters. They may not say anything to you because they feel maybe intimidated. They don't want to lose their job. But if they have the character that I'm telling you, and they just spoke the truth to you, they know I'm telling the truth, and so do you. All lives matter. But if you look at the way this country was developed, you know it's okay to say that all lives matter, or Black lives matter, or that women's lives matter. It all does. But to shout people down that talked about what's real, and now you're capitulating, doing the same thing, you can say that Big C Sports did it first, and I know it's true. If not, I just haven't heard other people talk like this, other than bringing on an expert like a Harry Edwards, or Michael Eric Dyson, or Michael Moore, having them talk. We all got to just, break bread and share our thoughts. When smart people talk, things happen. I love when we are all juxtaposing what we're doing now in all of talk shows, from sports TV, sports radio, sports podcast. You have doctors coming on the show. Steph Curry had the doctor on the show talking about what's going on, Dr. Fauci, how we can all make ourselves better and be aware of what's going on with the corona pandemic. Now the fatalities have climbed. I hope to get past this, but we can't get past it by putting our heads in the sand. And so I'm already proud of smart people. Mark Cuban, NBA owner of the Dallas Mavericks, he also spoke about some things that need to happen, whether it's dealing with this pandemic or dealing with rights for athletes and people of color. And, everybody has their own thought. You can't please everybody. But I always appreciate when I can say, you know what, Big C? Turn on every show now, at least the smart ones, which is more than half, and they're talking about things that are real, not just about who won a game. We've been doing it a long time. I want to also just focus a little bit on the NFL. The Detroit Lions, they agreed to a deal with cornerback Darryl Roberts. The Detroit Lions, they agreed to terms with him. He's a free agent cornerback. They announced the move today. He spent the past 4 seasons with the New York Jets. And like many of Detroit's recent players, also has ties to the New England Patriots. So hopefully he'll make some noise for Matt Patricia and the Detroit Lions. The city of Detroit, man, they've been hit hard by what's gone on with this coronavirus pandemic. Everybody's been suffering in some way or other, but it's the sports world that is more gregarious in talking about it. And to me, I'm just proud of that fact, because if we don't do it, we all have to be part of the problem or the solution. And don't wait for someone to do it. Either lead, follow, or get out of the way. That's what I was told as a little boy. And I'm loving the fact that Big C Sports has been one of the leaders on the front line, being the vanguard of bringing real talk to sports. We're not dumb sycophants athletes, and we believe in just seeing what's real. Hopefully it can help some people, maybe even people that you love. In the Texans, the Houston Texans, Bill O'Brien, he actually stood by the trade that says DeAndre Hopkins wanted a raise. Well, he's going to get a raise over in Arizona. Maybe they're going to have a chance to get into a playoff spot now. That team's going to be loaded this year over in Arizona, and they have the first chance in a long time to match up another great receiver with Fitzgerald and Kyler Murray. I think he'll have a stellar year this year for the Arizona Cardinals. So in the first announcements since trading DeAndre Hopkins, the head coach came out and general manager, he cited the wide receiver's desire for a raise. He wanted more money, and the black men asked for more money. They said, you got to go. So they sent him down the road. They sent him down the desert. In fact, they exiled him to the desert. He's going to be playing in Arizona with a bird on the side of his helmet for the rest of his days, and he'll probably have success there. He doesn't have DeAndre Watson to throw the ball to him anymore, but he has a quarterback who's a lot similar in Murray, and I think he's going to do fine when he gets there to do that. So everybody knows if they don't want you, you just got to pick up your stuff, and you got to go. And you got to go where you want it, and when you get there, you just play the best you can, and I think he'll continue that stellar career that he's been playing right now. Also, you know what? And sometimes I really pray for this guy, Antonio Brown. He was charged with alleged assault of a driver in Florida. I mean, I don't know what to say other than he needs help. I know there's a lot of people that want to get him to play football for them. But the state of Florida has levied 3 formal charges against Antonio Brown for an alleged January assault resulting in the former All-Pro player's arrest. And he faces felony burglary and misdemeanor charges and battery charges. Just a lot of garbage. I don't want to condemn or condone anybody because I don't know the whole story. But if anybody's being abused by anybody, just go call 911. You got to do that. No one deserves the right to beat you up or to put hands on you. It's just my opinion. But I know I would love to see the man get some help. And we don't know if he's going to get that help, because as long as you can play football, people want to mask the fact that you need help and put you in a football uniform. But I think he needs more than that. If he wasn't a famous player, then he'd probably be dealing with worse situations than what he's dealing with right now. If you go to the Windy City, Chicago Bears, it's called windy not because it's so windy, it's because of its politics. Well, there's more politics on the football field. The Chicago Bears, they declare a quarterback competition between Mitch Trubisky, their first-round draft pick just a couple of moons ago, to former Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles, and they're going to compete. And I believe Coach Nagy, he stressed that Trubisky will be the first quarterback on the field whenever practices begin, but he planned to give Trubisky and Foles equal time with the starters. And if I have my choice, I think Foles is a better passer, but Trubisky is a better runner. Maybe they could use him as a dual threat. But if you got to count on one guy, I'd rather put my faith in the player's hands that has won a Super Bowl, even though he did it for the Eagles when they beat New England. So that's just my thoughts. I know Chicago's going to do whatever they got to do to try to get back into the playoffs and get things done there. Say it ain't so, Jerry Jones. Dallas Cowboys, they signed Aldon Smith this week. Still no agreement with the great Dak Prescott. And just like a lot of other players, when you think about thoughts on the former Raiders pass rusher Aldon Smith signing with the Dallas Cowboys, he hasn't played since 2015 due to NFL suspensions. But you think about it, it just happened through the middle of the week, but he's been suspended from the NFL for more than 4 years, and he last signed with the Raiders playing 9 games of 2015 before he was suspended indefinitely. And now they're going to give him a chance down in Dallas. I guess they like they like bad boys down in Dallas to play football for them. Everybody knows that everyone needs and deserves sometime a second chance or a third chance or a fourth chance. But when you give a guy a lot of chances and all he does is stay in trouble, you wonder if he really cares about himself or if he needs help. I don't want to make excuses for anybody. We all need a second chance. Everybody deserves that. Also, a little bit more NFL news. The Tampa Bay Pirates, or that's just the guy on the side of the helmet, the badge on the side of the helmet. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they re-signed backup quarterback Blaine Gabbert. They signed him, a free agent backup quarterback, to a 1-year contract extension. And wouldn't it be something if Brady plays in that coronavirus stimulus tournament and he gets hurt, he pulls a back muscle and can't go out and perform, and they really got to count on Blaine Gabbert after giving up a 5,000-yard passer quarterback in Winston, who just had the LASIK surgery. I believe he'll have a much better chance at seeing the open target this year, Big C, no matter where he lands. But it's all fair in love and war. Gabbert signed with the Buccaneers last year after spending the first 8 seasons of his career with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we'll see what happens, being the backup to the great Tom Brady. San Francisco 49ers, they signed Travis Benjamin and lineman Tom Compton to 1-year deals. The 49ers are doing what they can down in Santa Clara to get back into the swing of things. They're looking at trying to get back to the top of the NFC West. That might be a difficult thing to do, especially with Seattle and Arizona and even the Rams doing their job trying to get a little bit stronger this year. I know the Rams, what have they done? They signed Austin Blythe and Andre Whitworth. They would give the LA Rams more stability in the O-line as they move into that brand new, it's either $4 billion or $5 billion SoFi Stadium in Southern California. And I hope and pray that we do have football. It would be great to have a football season. Man, I really know it's something that it pulls them together. People congregate around football. And I love the fact that we can do that. I just know that it should be back very soon. I also want to stick to something that happened in Northern California with this coronavirus pandemic. Sacramento, California, there's a town called Rancho Cordova just east of downtown Sacramento going up to Tahoe. I guess it's about 20 miles out of downtown Sacramento. Well, 71 people at a church test positive for the coronavirus. Think about that. So they're in there praying. They're asking God for a favor. And they come up positive for coronavirus. I think one even passed away. So is it really faith versus medical science? Medical science told us not to congregate in groups of more than 10. First it was 50, and then it went down to 10, and then I heard 6, and now they're telling people to just, wear a mask. The Centers for the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, is saying we should wear a mask maybe when you're going to a bank or to a grocery store. But how do you juxtapose your faith versus science? There's a Pentecostal church in Sacramento, the suburb of Rancho Cordova, the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak, more than 6 dozen confirmed cases, and it prompted the county officials to warn against religious gatherings. Who's going to tell people that you can't go to church and pray and worship together? Well, the scientific community will. So I hope that our religious brethren, I know I'm always asking for 1 million pastors to congregate at least in prayer, subconsciously, whatever it is. We got 1 million pastors all over the world to pray for a cure, and maybe we can find that. But I know there's a lot of pastors who may put so much faith in the fact that God's going to help them, they may ignore science, and you have 71 people test positive. That's not a good thing. Sacramento Kings, they're using the old Arcor Arena, also Sleep Train Arena, that may house hundreds of hospital beds to help deal with what's going on with this pandemic. And think about that. And that came out by Gavin Newsom making sure that he does his part to let the state and the governments know that we all have to pitch in. So sports and politics doesn't mix for some of you old knuckleheads. And some of the guys I'm talking to, they've been in Arco Arena broadcasting games, and now they're even capitulating. So if they can use the old Sleep Train, the old Arco Arena, they haven't used it since the Kings moved downtown to the Golden One Center, but that would be great for them to be able to use that facility if they need to help people safe. I'm all for it. I'm all for whatever our society can do, because we all have to lean on each other, no matter what it is, however you think about a hoax or not. I would love the fact that Dr. Deborah Birx, she was speaking today with White House correspondent in the response to the coronavirus. Man, when they reported over 1,094 deaths in one day in the United States, I know that's very gripping for people dealing with the loss of their loved ones, and there's just so much going on that I am in prayer that we can solve. And I know that medical science will solve it. So hopefully that will help. We just gotta all keep our family safe, wash our hands, wash our face, and stay away from a lot of people. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Spreaker.com. You can follow Big C Sports on an app that I love called Google. Or Alexa, just say Google. Or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear Welcome to the Show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic from 3,000 miles away. He'll do his thing, and I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really appreciate that. Also launching a real estate listing show in the spring of 2020. Looking for 100 brokers to list their properties on TV. McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it. And you can do it too. Sports teams do it. When we get off the pause, you can do it too. And I just want to know that's coming as soon as we get the okay from Governor Gavin Newsom. Northern California, coronavirus update, Santa Clara County, they are providing housing to all known homeless individuals with COVID-19. That's Santa Clara County down in San Jose. They've been identified as providing housing for every known homeless person who's tested positive for COVID-19. And that, to me, that's just light at the end of the tunnel, especially everybody's going through something. And it's nice to know that at least the counties and the governors are starting to do their part in trying to get people housed and getting people help. I hope that all kids are not going to, that's not going to school now. Kids need food in the belly. If you know of any school district where kids are going, even if you don't have kids, if you know of parents, reach out to those school districts, because a lot have food programs where they're at least giving you a breakfast and a lunch. And I would love to do my part with Big C Sports to make sure that kids are not going to bed hungry. I want to just also add some levity at the end of it. I know we talked a lot about Tiger Woods today. I really think he's the most well-known athlete in the history of the universe. At least in my opinion, he's still going strong, he and LeBron James. But I think if you look at what Tiger's been doing, he's been doing this thing since 1997. Federal judge tosses a fan lawsuit out versus Major League Baseball, the Houston Astros, and the Boston Red Sox. This happened in New York where they're all asking for help. Governor Cuomo doing a fine job. I really hope they can get some help. But a federal judge, by fantasy sports contestants who claimed that they were damaged by sign stealing by Major League Baseball, Big C. Here are guys that betting and saying they were robbed because they were betting. I know the Supreme Court made betting legal, but think about it, Major League Baseball and MLB Advanced Media, the Houston Astros, and the Boston Red Sox in federal court in Manhattan, Gotham City, claiming fraud, violations of consumer protection laws, negligence, unjust enrichment, and deceptive trade practices by teams that violated Major League Baseball rules against the use of electronics to steal signs. Big C, if that makes any sense. You have guys who are gambling for a living, and you can't really win if all the prognosticators are honest. In order to win big, you gotta usually win with the underdog. But anyway, the sports and celebrities and whatever happens in Hollywood and in politics is all fair and love and war. But it's amazing that the judge threw it out. Some good old boys trying to get rich on baseball and gambling on sports, and the judge said no. I hope that everybody can stay safe, stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. And as we always tell you, just take care of your family on this beautiful day. I know it's beautiful if we can see it. We got to keep seeing it. We got to see it, and it will show up. As we always say, Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in this sports universe? And as we always say, take care of your family, love one another, forgive. You got to reach out to people, let them know you're okay. I was talking to my mother today, and we were talking about some things that we laughed about. I love that God gives me the ability to do that, and I love doing that with family, and I just pray that everybody stays safe and trust science. No matter who you listen to, trust science. Every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, you can follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to put up with that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.